This is the Wing Woman Show. Are you ready? You're listening to The Wing Woman Show, and this is your host, Morgan Bars. Today on the podcast, we have Invest Diva. I originally found her from TikTok, as you know, my favorite place now to find new and creative content creators. She has an incredible story from being on a Japanese talk show to now helping women with their investment portfolios. This is a very timely podcast episode with all the stock market drama, Wall Street bets, GameStop, AMC. If you are on that side of the world, you are definitely familiar with everything going on through the Reddit feeds. This will be a very interesting conversation as Kiana has made huge leaps in her career, and I just can't wait to sit down and talk with her about the behind the scenes of what it was like to make all of those big career changes and the process that led her to where she is today. So without further ado, let's head into today's episode. So walk me back to the very beginning, maybe when you were a little girl. What did you think you wanted to be when you grew up?
I thought, I had two things on my wish list. One was I wanted to become an author, and second, I wanted to become an astronaut. So I made the author thing happen, but the astronaut thing, I went that route. I studied electrical engineering, and it wasn't for me. So here we are.
I love it though. You're like a big dreamer. Most of the time people would have those dreams sizzle out, but you were like full force going to college, still pursuing that.
Yeah, so that's interesting because I wasn't even aware of, dreaming big and, law of attraction or The Secret. Nobody taught me that.
Right.
But somehow when I look back at my like diaries when I was a little girl, I actually had I was visualize right in present tense what my bio from my best-selling book would be. And I'm like,
how did you know how to do that?
Vision board at 7?
Do you do that stuff today? Like, do you manifest and what kinds of things do you do?
So so every time I hit a goal, I, move my goals, accomplish goals to the next step, to that accomplished section of my board, and then create new goals. So, which is interesting though, because I suddenly noticed that I was becoming a little bit aggressive with my goals because it felt so good. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make $1 million. So I made $1 million. I'm like, now I'm going to make $10 million. And then I was like, okay, slow down. You want to eat. Don't get too caught up with, because it is interesting. Like you can become greedy and all these things. So yesterday I was actually talking to my own accelerator students, and I told them, hey, you guys, I know I pumped you guys up that my next goal for 2021 is 10 million. And that was very inspiring to them. But I said, I do apologize, but it just doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't make me excited. It makes me scared. And I know exactly how I can get there. And honestly, I just don't want to take the steps. I want to chill a little bit this year. So we kind of brought the goal back down a little bit, like to 3 million, which I'm like, okay, that I can do, and I won't die, like I won't burn out.
Yeah, thank you for saying that too. I'm glad you said that on the podcast, because I feel like a lot of times when we say a big goal and then we tell a bunch of people and then we're like, oh my gosh, why did I just say that? So I'm so glad that you mentioned like how you went back to them and kind of told them that it's not sitting right with you, so you're changing the plan, and how you're just open and vulnerable about that. Because I did read on your website that you make 5-year plans and you stick to them, and that just appeals to the goal setting side of me.
Yeah, like taking your goals very seriously is super important to actually achieving them. And like when I told my husband yesterday morning, he's like, okay, whatever, like who cares? I'm like, I take my goals very seriously. When I say 10 million, I'm committed.
Yeah.
And I feel I wouldn't be kind to myself if I commit to that. And it's okay to change goals if it doesn't sit well with you. So it was a learning lesson for me, and for the people in our audience, and hopefully for your audience too, that, goals need to sit well with you. You need to feel happy and excited about them. It's super important.
Well, and you've accomplished so much. I saw, which one thing that I didn't know was the talk show, and I didn't even understand what they were saying, but I was still watching it. I think I watched a couple of them because it was still so entertaining to watch you go back and forth talking. So how did you
In
even get
Japanese?
into that? Yes.
Oh, the one in Japan. Yeah. So when I was in Japan, I was studying electrical engineering. I was frustrated, didn't understand a thing. And I mean, there were other, so I was the only girl in my class.
Mm-hmm.
It was taught in Japanese. It was just like electrical engineering is hard on its own. And then being the only foreigner and the only girl in the class, it was just depressing. So I was actively looking for ways to break out of it. And when I saw the opportunity in Japan, it's easy for foreigners to go on TV, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you speak the language, you're like an instant celebrity. So I just saw the application and I was like, yeah, sure. So I went on. And I mean, of course, there were like auditions and stuff, but
Oh, but still,
it was really
yeah.
fun. Yeah, it was really
Yeah, and I
fun.
feel like that's something that I'm realizing right now is that even though you've had so much success in the investment side of things, I feel like down to the root of you as an individual, when you set those goals, really if we just picked you up and dropped you in a completely different industry, you would still like build up on that success because like inside of you, you've done so much foundational work to pursue anything that you wanted to do. And I saw that kind of shine through, even though you say it was easier to get on TV there, like it's still like you're just going after things and you're putting yourself out there and it's so admirable.
Right. So, I mean, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. And I feel like what I want out of my life at this point is like, you know, if I can do it, like literally anyone can do it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just about putting your mind
Mm-hmm.
to it really, because, and what you said is actually correct. Because I have flip-flops through so many different
Yeah.
industries. And even within my Invest Diva journey, I started out doing something that right now I'm teaching people not to do. I started out forex trading, which is basically gambling, and I even wrote a book about it. And for the
Right.
longest time, people knew me as forex diva. And then when I found out that that's actually the wrong way to go about the things, I had to change things. And it took me a while to get people to understand that I don't do forex. I still get forex, you
You
know,
do. Yeah.
inquiries. I'm like, I don't do forex anymore. Sorry.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but so it's a learning progress. And maybe, I don't know, 10 years down, even within my investment strategies, I've made so much progress. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it also has to do with, you know, surrounding yourself with people who have accomplished the things that you want to do and
Right.
learning from them so that, you know, you don't make the same mistakes. This
Yeah.
one I learned very late, because at the beginning it's like, I'm going to just figure it out on my own. Whereas when you actually go to somebody and seek help from someone who's already done it, it just takes all the years of their mistakes like
Right.
off of your shoulders.
Right. So
So
what were
yeah.
some ways that you did that? Did you reach out to people and just had mentors? Did you do programs? What were some ways that people listening can do that?
So when I first got started, let's say with my my investing journey and my entrepreneurship journey, solo on investing and solo entrepreneurship journey started at the same time. And what I did, I was just putting myself out there. And back then, TikTok didn't existed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like go dig back to my YouTube stuff from back like 10 years ago, they have like 5 views. But I'm dancing, trying to teach trading,
Oh my gosh.
kind of like what I do on TikTok right now. And
Right.
back then, this was not normal. Like people thought I'm legit crazy,
Right.
including my sister. Like my sister is like, what? But guess what happened? Because I was putting myself out there, like the 5 people that watched it, one of them was the publisher who offered me the book deal. It's
Wow.
crazy because
Wow.
putting yourself out there, regardless of the ridicule, I feel like that has been the key to finding people who will then help me. And
Mm-hmm.
then, for example, how I went from forex trading to what I do now, which is value investing again. And I'm always very vulnerable. I have been
Right.
throughout my social media. So one time, again, I was just on video talking about how I lost a bunch of money trading, and I put it on LinkedIn. And then this guy I had never heard of, Guy Spire, who's like a best-selling author and is like a hedge fund manager, is like, Kiana, you probably wouldn't even read this email, but let me tell you that you're doing things wrong. And like, he just like sent me an email saying you should stop trading and investing. And, you know, some people might have just brushed it off the shoulder, but I was like, oh, okay, what is he saying? So I responded back, and he sent me his book. And that changed my whole methodology of
yeah. Oh
how
my
to
God.
invest.
I have like goosebumps. Yeah. That's incredible. So was that your first book deal, going back to the YouTube? Was that your very first book deal that you got?
Yeah. The one that is about Forex trading.
Oh my God. That's like almost a sign from the universe. You were probably thinking like, because you've always wanted to be an author. So for that to come out that way.
It wasn't just like the publisher. So the funny thing is, I was trying to get published. I was going after agents, becoming a published author by a major publication is hard. Mm-hmm. Self-publishing is much easier, and actually I kind of prefer it at this point. Mm-hmm. But I was doing the work in the background. Like, I was trying to reach out to people. I would always ask, like, whatever networking party I used to live in New York, I would go to. I was like, do you know a publisher? Do you know somebody who works at a publishing? Like, I would start putting the ask out there. So I kind of feel like there might have been like, okay, I put myself out there. The 5 views, one of them being the publisher. I don't know how that woman found my YouTube channel, but I kind of have a feeling that because I was just putting it out there, like telling everybody that, hey, I want to write a book, maybe somebody just forwarded that YouTube to this editor at McGraw-Hill, and maybe that's how. So it wasn't just like putting myself out there, but also putting my ask out there.
Right.
So providing value and also letting people know what I want to accomplish.
Right.
Like, I do it right now too. Like, if you watch my videos, I let know people what I want to accomplish, which is helping 1 million moms to take control of their financial future by the year 2025. So, you know, people are that's gonna like, everybody knows that is my mission now. Anyone who's ever been on my YouTube channel knows that. And I feel like it has had a great impact, because now, you know, some people are taking note, and maybe they'll forward it to the right person.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like that's a great piece of advice, because even when I watch TikToks, and there's a particular creator on TikTok, Haley Hoffman, who she always says her big goal is to be like a TV reporter or a TV host. And I work with a lot of TV anchors, so I connected them together, and I feel like it helps people know how to connect you with other people.
Yes, because if you don't say it, then how would people know?
Right, and exactly.
That's an amazing example that you just said. And that's what my own students, I encourage them, just tell us your ask, tell us your superpowers, tell us how you can provide value, but also what is your ask?
Right.
Because unless you go and say it, then nobody's going to know.
People don't know. Yeah. People don't even know to bring up your name in that conversation too.
Like, they wouldn't know what your passion is. Like, who would think that I want to help moms, you know, if it was like the beginning, like, people didn't know. And that's why actually, before I started saying that, I had a lot of male following. And I always wondered why. I'm like, the brand name is Invest Diva. I'm like, in front of a cage, like, why are all these guys following me? And then I started saying, hey, I'm here to help moms.
Right. And then you flipped everything around. So yeah, it sounds like you've always been really confident and really sure in like what you wanted. For maybe someone who's listening and they're still like on the fence and they're nervous to put that ask out there, like, what piece of advice would you have for them? Have you ever even like experienced feeling nervous to like put the ask out there?
Of course. And no, haven't always been confident. I have not always been confident. Like, do you think, like, when I was studying engineering, I thought I didn't know I wanted to, like, it was so hard after 6 years of studying electrical engineering, spending all that miserable times and finally getting the degree and not knowing where I want to go next. Mm-hmm. I was like literally depressed. Mm-hmm. It is not easy to find out what you want to do. When it comes down to really is making a decision. Mm-hmm. And the good thing about goals is that they can be changed.
Yeah.
So you go with it, And then if it's not for you, you can change it. I think at the end of the day, and I'm learning it more and more to apply to my life, is that you're in control. You are in control, and all you have to do is decide, and nobody else can make that decision for you. So, and every time that you make a decision and you go through the route, and whether you learn something, you learn that, okay, this is the route that I want to continue, or this is not the route I want to continue.
Right.
Then be flexible. So one thing that I used to do that was really bad was I would just like regret all the time that I spent in that industry. And I was like, I would like spend 6 months just being depressed over all the time that I wasted. Whereas now when I make a mistake, I mean, and it comes with practice too, it's much easier said than done. I'm able to pivot faster. Right. So it's something that comes with age too, is like, I can say no to things now much easier than before. I was just like, yes.
All the time, I'm sure, yeah. I have more of a personal question too, because like going off of how you develop your 5-year plans and you stick to them, like for me sometimes it's hard to even develop out like a 3-year plan because things change so fast, especially as I'm growing the business. So it's difficult for me to say, okay, this is where, or this is like what I want in 3 years, when sometimes like those things happen in the next 6 months and I'm like, oh gosh, like what is going to be my 5-year goal from here? So like what kind of advice do you have for that? Because that's like the most difficult part for me, I feel like right now.
Great question. So what I normally do, I actually have short-term goals, not plans, goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. And here's how you set up your goals. Okay, ready? So first of all, your goal needs to be a measurable dream with a deadline. Okay? And you always want to ask for more. So for example, when I say, so my goal, for example, last year, 2020, March 2020, I said, I have made $1 million and more by December 31st, 2020. And I put a date on it. I literally wrote that down on March and I started manifesting it every single day. Now, mind you, the year before I was in negative. Like I had I had only made like $50,000 and I had spent $70,000. So I was in negative. You want your goal to also be achievable to you, feel achievable and happy to you. And I reached that goal earlier than December 31st. I reached it in November. And then I just moved it across to the next column. One word that you said that it was a plan. So a goal is different than the plan. The goal that you're manifesting is the results. And you shouldn't worry about the details of the how as much when you're manifesting. Just focus on the feeling of happiness that you're going to, like every day, like the manifesting, just close your, like, oh my gosh, you're in that moment and that has happened and how happy you're feeling. That's manifestation. And then the plan, because you already have this goal here, the plan kind of unravels and then you go here, and then you make the right choices because you have the goal right over here. And it becomes easier to make decisions. At the end of the day, it all comes down to decisions. So because now you're repeating the goal over here. Okay, the goal is 1 million. If I do this, is it like I have to, every day you are making so many decisions. Which one is going to bring you closer to the 1 million? And one step at a time, you suddenly see that the road is just kind of unraveling. So it's the goal, not the plan.
Right.
That you manifest, and then don't worry as much about the how. I would say.
See, that's good advice. Because I feel like that gives a more tangible day-to-day action plan of something you can do in order, because I know for me, like I think of like these grand things, and sometimes when it comes to the day-to-day, it's a little more difficult. And I've heard from a few of our listeners too on other podcast episodes. So I feel like I'm definitely going to clip this part out because it's extremely helpful.
It's super important to be clear with your goals and then making decisions.
Right.
It's the D word. Every single day is the D word.
Yeah.
That's the D
Yeah.
word. Like, which decision are you going to make? Are you going to stay in bed or are you going to get up? Are you going to make a TikTok or are you going to, I don't know, make spaghetti? Like, and either way is fine. It's fine if that is your goal. And then because you have the goal in the back of your head and you have done your morning routine, I read through my goals every single morning so that it gives me that much clarity about the decisions that I'm going to make throughout the day.
Right. Okay, so let's fast forward to now. Now you are a multi-published author, lots of different books, and talk to us a little more about your coaching programs or your programs that you offer, and I'll link them down below as well, so that our listeners can click through to them if they want to work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we talked more about like goal setting and entrepreneurship, but what I actually offer is about personal finance, financial planning for yourself. So quick overview. I gave my money to my money manager years ago. And then when I lost my job because I got fired, the money was locked up there and I couldn't get it out unless I paid a ton of penalty. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So I came on Wall Street. That is how I actually got into finance because I wanted to learn about how to make money in finance without like how to become my own money manager. So I don't have to depend on them. And I found out you can actually do it and you can have much better results. So that is what I teach. I teach people how to take control of their finances and invest, not trade, with like really low risk, like literally zero risk, depending on their risk tolerance and personal finance, and make their money work for them. So the program that I offer is Make Your Money Work for You Power Course. And just to see if you're interested in learning about it, this is a great fit for you, then yeah, we do have this training. It's a 2-hour on-demand training. It's that you guys can take a look at and see the process. And I mean, they'll look more about my story too, maybe like the whole show that you were talking about, the Japanese show.
Yeah.
So I just explain my process of how I make personal finance and investment decisions and how you can do it too.
Right. Yeah, that's so important. And I'll make sure to link the training down below as well so that people can click through and sign up for that training. But thank you so much for joining us today. I know that this episode is going to be incredible for everyone listening because I feel like it's really what we've been missing on the show. So thanks for being so vulnerable too, just with your experiences and sharing like your day-to-day hacks on how you got there.
Thank you. No, thank you so much for having me. And I really hope your audience got value. And thank you for doing what you do. You're helping women. And it gets so giddy when, women are supporting each other and you're the wingman, wingwoman. I love it. Love it. It's so good. It's so good.